Well, you guys see the length of the video. For the real ones, y'all know what this means. Gone is the era of phone videos. Well, not completely. I mean, some of these videos will still be edited on phone.
Chip says that he is moving in. Bro, this is complete doo-doo right, man. Maybe the comments are also trash.
But from here on out, we have finally entered the computer editing era! Now that we got that out of the way, let me get onto the topic of this video. I'll be completely transparent, this is a sponsored video. These guys reached out to me to spread the word about their graphic novel. Oh, come on! Their Webtoon! So the folks from Saturday AM, a graphic novel company, asked me to review their webtoons in time for the release of their next volume. And they gave me a selection of their webtoons to read. And out of all of them, I went with Apple Black, just because the cover looks cool. Now I will say, even though this video is sponsored, I will give my actual thoughts on the comic no matter what. Of course, these are just my opinions. You can take them into consideration, but if you want to get an actual feel if you like it or not, then go ahead and read their comics. Anyways, this is gonna surprise many of my subscribers, but instead of doing a measly 10 chapters, we're doing 4 entire volumes! I know guys, 10 episodes man, reading the whole thing, shocking. But guys, we all must evolve, become better as we go on in this life. And I can finally stop seeing these comments! Anyways, I think that's enough intro. So with that being said, let's get into these 4 volumes. Look, I'll be honest, editing 10 extra long chapters was hard enough, so imagine 4 entire volumes. Alright, let's not waste any more time, let's get into this. We start off this webcomic with a narrator explaining where the people of this world get their power from. Apparently, their powers derive from an alien fruit called Bleck. Bleck went extinct a while. I'm sorry, but that line out of context is crazy. Martin Luther King is not gonna let this slide. Apparently, one guy managed to find seeds to these fruits and gatekept them from the entire world. Now, it's fair to assume this guy is just a jerk, but think about all the maniacs in the world who could use this power. Like, it'd be wild if you're walking down a dark alley at night, Jeffrey Dahmer pops up and says, "Damn it." We then cut to this guy who is drawing something and then gets jumped before proceeding to tell someone to wake up.
Wake up.
As it turns out, this was all a dream, and our main character wakes up just in time for the first day of protagonism. Man, these guys should be glad I'm not CinemaSins reading this. Those guys would be losing their minds over this. Beginning of the story narration cliche. Chosen one cliche. It was all a dream cliche. First day cliche.
Honey, can you please take out the trash? It's been piling up for weeks.
Stupid wife cliche.
Did you just call me stupid? I've been doing all the work around here, while all you does this stupid cinch thing. You know what? We're done. I want a divorce.
Non-supporting wife cliche. Our main character, Sano, is getting ready, along with his pet monkey, John. Apparently, this is his first day of experiencing the world outside of his home and his path to becoming a top J. Sano is of course very excited since he gets to experience a whole world of new things, meet new people, make friends. Did they really bump into him and not apologize? These kids, man, I swear, they just don't learn. Someone's gotta discipline them. Sano is talking a bit of his backstory, where he's one of the last from his tribe and— John, what have you done? He just heavily implied he's one of the last from his tribe, and Bobo here wants to make sure that his tribe is cooked. Forget any future villain we may meet. I say John is the real mastermind. We cut to these 2 guards getting beaten up by what seems like low-tier hooded figures since he's tearing their self-esteem apart. They identify him as General Groudon of the Banbury Rebels and launch one more attack, but we know how this is gonna end. We're then introduced to Sano's professor, Mikhail, who from his introduction can be boiled down to, if you do well, I'll like you. If not, you'll see what happens. After he says his goodbyes to Angelo and John, he tries to find his way around the Fellowship, but unfortunately, he's a goofy main character, meaning he can't read a map. He notices a guy running in his direction and tries to befriend him, and instantly gets jumped. They engage in a little scuffle, where while Sano's only dodging, it's clear he completely outclasses him. Sano then meets another one of his classmates, whose name is Simon, and, well, even if it's not on Webtoon, some things never change. Apparently, Sano being the chosen one isn't a secret, but it's just a rumor, which Simon just so happens to believe. And here is where we see the main character showing off his actual intelligence. While he may not be book smart, he easily reads Simon's character. Then the goofiness comes back. Mikhail interrupts the scuffle before it creates more destruction, and he just gives them all detention, even though Ryozaki, forgot to say his name, was the one who caused it all! Mad injustice in this system. Actually, I think I know why Sano got detention too. He still stinks! Like I keep on saying, John is the evil mastermind! What evidence do I have for this, you may ask? Hey guys, remember this? Let me zoom in on this photo. I rest my case. We then get this admittedly nice perspective shot of the academy they're in, and then Sano finally makes it to the classroom. He then has one interaction with a female and is beaten more than Ryozaki could hope to achieve. We cut to Angelo and John visiting a lady called Madame Naomi. Through their conversation, it becomes clear to us that they are all well aware that Sano is a prodigy, and all he needs is that school and to experience the world for his true power to come back. Also, she's kinda nude, and while it is kinda censored, you guys know the deal with YouTube. Mikhail is finding Sano a dorm, and Sano expresses concern over Mikhail smoking and had I lived a similar life, I may have done the same thing. After looking at a wanted poster, Sano brings up who seems to be the big bad that's clearly puppeteered by John, Gideon. Apparently, he was killed by John's dad, and while he seriously shouldn't be alive, he somehow came back to life. Oh no. Oh no. Oh, saying that reminded me of it. Please don't let him coming back to life be just like that! After Mikhail humbles Sano, showing he clearly has a reason for being like this, he gets summoned and tells Sano not to leave, and then he does. It's actually a little convenient that Sano didn't stay put, because here he has his first fight of the series against Mr. Hooded Figure, who is now unhooded. Sano talks with Unhooded Man, I'll just call him Billy, and I seriously am not sure what Sano's going for here. Was this a deception tactic? It wouldn't have mattered either way. And did he really think if he just asked a little nicely he would have taken him to his leader? They both would have gotten packed up if it worked. They then engage in combat with Billy having an interesting weapon and power where he can control the size and movement of his weapon. Fortunately, Sano is the main character, and the chosen one, so he has the busted ability of being able to teleport, though there's gotta be a limit. Billy yaps on about how the war is still ongoing, but Sano is about to show him why he's a side character in this story. Sano reveals his secret hockey-infused arm, and we see Angelo and Mikhail realize Sano is in the fight for his life. Unfortunately, this manipulator will do something. I'm not sure what he's gonna do, but something that ensures that they fail. Billy resorts to telling Sano yo daddy jokes, and even becoming low-tier Billy a bit, but unfortunately, he's a plot device. Mikhail begins to reprimand Sano for fighting as he could have died, but Sano does something a little surprising, where usually this is the point where the protagonist wants to eradicate the big evil, Sano wants to forgive to ensure true peace and the cycle of revenge and war ends. Very noble. We could all learn a thing or two from it, and of course, we got the fan service. He can't find the guild again, since he can't read maps, but fortunately, he runs into one of his classmates. And since he's never interacted with women, the slightest interaction leads to him being all red-faced. Her name is Don't say it, 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 don't say it. Your name is stupid! No, Sano, why did you let John get on her? It may look like he's just playing with her face, but I guarantee you, he's planting microscopic grenades that'll blow her up at some point. Unfortunately for them, they arrive late, which means Mikhail is probably just gonna blow as much of his lung cancer in their face as possible. And once more, we're faced with Naomi being less than conservatively dressed, so I gotta save my money now. They talk about Sano's arm and his true purpose, which seems to have a more ulterior purpose. Sano and the truth of the prophecy can't be known, otherwise it could shake everything up and spin everything on its head. Since Sano is relatively new to his school, he has to pass an entry exam where he has to snatch an item from Mikhail. Sano tries to use his main character powers, but unlike last time, he's going up against someone competent. His teleporting is too predictable for Mikhail, and he's getting beaten so bad that his classmates call him a name. A name that haunts all whom are in a series about fighting, where if you're called it once, it may never go away. That's right. They called him a fraud. Yeah! As the strongest character, Sano fought the fraud, Mikhail. He began to open his arm. Mikhail shrunk back with fear. Then Sano said, "Stand proud, Mikhail. You are strong." Sano is now an official member of the graduation class, but we can't celebrate now, for Huey Freeman is part of the Rebels. Kind of a coincidence. They're doing a night class about wands and demonstrations, with Baljeet doing the first demonstration. Miss Teacher wants Sano to prove he's him, and I mean, were we expecting anything less? He finally gets to eat, and while the food is good, he's unfortunately allergic to shrimp, which allows this monster to eat all of his food. They're all preoccupied with Sano not knowing what the word girlfriend means, but they aren't seeing the treachery happening right before their eyes! Now whenever Sano is gonna fight someone, he's gonna be too hungry and then die. We cut to the prison Billy is being held at, and he's being interrogated about his boss, and of course he resorts to racism. We cut to Sano, who was summoned by Naomi, asking him how his guild life is going. And then they get to the point, being that he has a huge bounty on his head and people are going to be coming after him. Pause. He accepts this, for no matter what, he wants to accomplish his dream or die trying. But who cares about all that? In comes the greatest character of the series, the Donald! Hey, why did you all sit down? Jacoby? No, that won't do. Now I know some of you guys may be saying, "Oh, Chalupa, he may actually be evil in disguise." And to that I say, what's this? Yeah, if John hates him, that means he's the role model for model citizens. He comes bearing some good news and bad news. The good news being that Sano actually has a dorm. The bad news being that his roommate isn't exactly chill like that. We then cut to the Donald seeking out said roommate, his name being Osamu, and he seems to be one of those guys. He then gives some ground rules for the room like he owns the place. Hey Sano, are you really gonna take that? Let him own you? Me personally, that disrespect wouldn't fly. Osamu actually gives us a lore drop as he tells Sano that Billy was actually a part of their cause before joining the rebels. And then we cut to them doing a good cop, bad cop with Billy, which is seriously not working. But then they realize, if he's planning something inside the prison, wouldn't killing him completely ruin said plan? And then they threaten his life. We cut back to Sano and Osamu actually beginning to get along as they realize that the other isn't as bad as they thought. However, this cheer doesn't last as poor Sano is sent to concentration camp. Rest easy, Sano. Years from now, we'll take selfies in front of the camp you died in. It's the only way to honor you. Mikhail is gatekeeping these guys from coming in, which makes sense considering the situation they're in. And in response, she tells Blood his life story while also telling him he'd be dead if he's in charge. Man, Mikhail, I would tell you not to take that, but unfortunately, you're a fraud. We're then shown what the tension looks like and... wait, are they being held upside down? Oh no. We cut back to the Serene country guys discussing handling Sano and the security of the country itself, which she's saying is trash. Unfortunately, the same thing she did with Mikhail isn't gonna fly this time, as she's outclassed. Literally, she's outranked, so she lets her talk to her like that. Sano asks Simon how they get out of there, to which he says they drop, and he thinks he's playing around until they actually drop. It seems like they've just been teleported to the city, but apparently it's just one giant genjutsu, which is their real detention. However, we find out this still isn't the actual detention, and they've actually snuck into the simulation sector. As for their actual detention... they'll be fine. All they have to worry about is Fraud Isle. What they're actually doing is they are in Ryuzaki's memories, I guess doing some sort of practice where they're living out a bad memory of his. Simon tells Sano that they can only interact with the objective, and said objective is a weed smoker's reaction when you tell them that they have an addiction. Sano tries to reason with Ryuzaki, saying this isn't gonna change a thing, but he straight up doesn't care. We also learned that this guy is busted, as he broke his walls of impulse. And if you don't want me to go over this long explanation, then think of the weed smoker as a Super Saiyan, and the rest of the guys are Anya. Yeah, they're cooked. It initially looks like Opal is gonna have a bit of backstory, but who cares? She's gotta bicker with an old man. An old man who has a mustache that looks like... a noodle!
It's turkey dick.
He tries to attack her after she insults his mustache and bald head, but unfortunately, he just gets emasculated. Opal, I know it's as if everything seems like it's sunshines and lollipops, but be warned, he'll be back. We're then properly introduced to some of Sano's classmates as we're given their names and right back to the fight. Ryuzaki is getting annihilated in this fight, where every time he gets one good shot, Weedman gets 30. We're then given a bit of Ryu's backstory, showing us why he's so determined to do this whole thing. His main motivation is this lady named Flo, who basically took Ryu out of homelessness and loneliness. Oh, and his name is Ruby, but Ryuzaki's a cooler name. He's then introduced to her sister, Naona, one of the girls introduced earlier, and Blood is instantly an op. Dang, maybe I take back what I said. Ryuzaki is not Blood's name, it's Op. He's so much of an op that he makes Naona desperate to prove her strength and ends up fighting Weedman, which in turn gets Flo wrapped up into this, and she gets in a coma. Also, they call Naona Neon for short, but yeah, I'm just gonna call her Naona. All seems lost for Op until a dragon shows up, which seems like it's a guardian to Op. After the dragon negs Weedman, Op steals his name and has been trying to become as strong as the dragon, I think. And while Simon's entire dialogue was so Sano could understand why he can't interfere, Sano helps anyways, because even though Op drives people away, he also clearly doesn't like to be lonely. Oh man, that was such a cool statement. I can't wait to see how this fight goes. Oh god, come on! We cut back to Opal and Naomi talking about stuff. Me, Opal want more. I want more of him, not you! Naomi discusses how Opal can teleport, and apparently it isn't the same as Sano's teleporting, since it comes from a wand. After leaving, Naomi meets up with Angelo, saying she really likes Opal, which is kinda confusing. All she did was say her morals. I mean, that's the bare minimum for anyone. Even this guy has morals. Maybe. Op tells Sano to stop acting cool and stay out of this, but Sano tells Op his psychology in that he doesn't blame anyone but himself and is essentially punishing himself. He wants to test if he's currently strong enough to stop what happened that day, but he knows nothing will change, so it's just a punishment so he never forgets the pain. Sano, being the Chad he is, says he technically hasn't interfered and only reinvigorated Op. But of course, Op's nicknamed that for a reason. Going back to Naona and her friend Lily, they're volunteering at an orphanage. Well, more like Lily's volunteering, Naona just standing there like she pre-empathy Vegeta. The old lady there, Granny Tooney, is reminiscing on the past, but then she gets sick of Naona thinking she's cold, and tells her Lily went through way worse than Naona. That's right, Naona. Your sister going into a coma from something you caused isn't even close in terms of trauma to what Lily went through. We come back to the trio, and surprisingly enough, Op actually won against Cannabis Demand, apparently thanks to Sano giving him the motivation to go that extra bit further. Simon explains how since Op doesn't know what tribe he belongs to, he just exerts unstable impulse to fight, which can be a major disadvantage since Flo did that in the real fight, and doing so may cause you to lose all your sorcery abilities and going into a coma. Sano then realizes, how does Simon know so many details when he wasn't even there? Neither Op or Vegetina seems like they'd recount everything, so Simon's looking mad sketchy. Not only that, but it seems like Sano's ability of reading people is not absolute, considering he just can't read Simon. I read lookism. I know precisely what's happening here. Simon is John's second body, keeping tabs on Sano and working on destroying the establishment from the inside! And where am I basing this opinion off of? Well, have we seen Simon and John awake in the same room? I rest my case. Sano wakes up in the middle of nowhere, with Op and Simon nowhere in sight. Since he still isn't completely used to the city yet, and he can't find the other two, he asks around. He ends up finding Naona and Lily at some diner, and once more, his weakness of talking to the opposite gender awakens. Thankfully, Lily doesn't seem to mind much, as she invites him to eat, recommending a soup from the country of Utah. After eating, he asks the two of them if they can help him with something, and I don't know guys, things seem pretty serious by the way he's asking. Oh, he wanted directions. Hey now, directions are mad important! Without guidance, Sano could have walked himself into something he'd absolutely regret. We find out where Simon and Op are, as Simon took Op to get some rest properly. Then he says as long as he's around, he'll be fine. And I gotta do it, man. Sano is in a relatively good mood. Well, as good as you can be when talking about a nightmare of your dad's death, and guess what? John isn't happy. Like Simon said, there are just some people Sano can't read, and if he hasn't read John yet, he's in store for a terrible betrayal. Sano then asks Angelo if there's any intel on Simon, since he's so suspicious. He's wondering how he got his hands on Books of Merlin, only for Angelo to reveal it was him all along. He hangs around John a lot. I can't say I'm surprised. And as it turns out, the herb monster is Simon's pet, even giving it a little name and everything. It's like naming this nice little creature Princess. We're given a flashback that reveals even more, that not only did he adopt the dope right after the fight occurred, but he was the one who told Naona about the thing in the first place. First manipulating someone and causing a tragic event, and then adopting the cause of said tragic event? What next, John? What evil plans are you cooking up now? Simon is so scary that Angelo even tells Sano to be careful around him as he recounts his past with Simon. He was recovered from the fall of Oldgarth, where experiments took place, and it seems like he may or may not have killed some people there. He was then taken to an asylum to rehabilitate him, and he was unresponsive for a while, until he bore witness to the female anatomy. Sano then discusses some of the things Simon said to him, and he's got his mind stuck on the secrets thing, to which Angelo says he has a point. Yes, Sano, those closest to you have a lot to hide. Literally. We finally return to the fraud being boring, looking at a bird or something, but thankfully the Donald is here to save the scene. Unfortunately, the Donald bears bad news as he tells Mikhail he's retiring, having faith in the future generation. This most definitely is the saddest thing to come out of this webtoon. Everyone, I would like to respectfully ask you all to please join me in a moment of silence. Right as he's telling Mikhail to have faith in the new generation, Mikhail gets summoned by the Mohawk lady. Fortunately for the kids, the Donald is taking over, meaning he'll train them to become the best citizens this country has ever seen. We cut to a meeting between the Dark Lords, and clearly none of them like each other. The Dark Lords being Naomi, Lars, Yuha, Old Man, and Cypress. Naomi notices that Bangalore's posse isn't with her, and she says they're attending to other business. Considering how she was earlier, and she's the leader, don't be surprised if it's just more bootlicking. Mikhail was summoned because Billy finally wants to talk, but specifically with Mikhail, which is a bit suspicious. Oh, and I was right to be suspicious! This turns out to be one big move from the rebel guys, where they lulled the country into a false sense of security and are invading it from the inside. And Bangalore was only bootlicking as an act, as she and her squad are also rebels. And it seems like she made a cataclysmic mistake by revealing basically everything to the Dark Lords, but this isn't the case. She knew that Yuha would drop her instantly, and she's actually a doll spell that's set to blow up the moment someone drops it. And now, the battle has started. Lily and Naona go to the orphanage to back up Granny, while Opal still can't find the freaking guy she's looking for. Sano sees what's happening and instantly gets to work, while we can see there's a seal keeping the Dark Lords imprisoned while this is going on. The fraud tells Billy how his plan is flawed, however Billy tells him he's got much more in store for them, as we can see the Black Hindenburg above them. The invasion truly starts as all the rebels drop down from the What are you doing here? You're supposed to be streaming. Get him out of here! Sano is immediately jumped by Walmart Deathstroke, but he's apparently got something in store for them. These two mildly flamboyant guys get confronted by the Donald, who chooses the diplomatic route first. No surprise. The flamboyant man introduces himself as Prince and— Wait, what is he doing? The scapegoat. Need a scapegoat. Billy is going on one more low-tier speech, but he's interrupted by Mikhail saying he'll take him one-on-one and for Helena to help her own people. Man, this whole 1v1 seems a little familiar. The rest of the cloaks, unaware of Bangalore's true nature, are tricked to go away from undoing the seal. But it doesn't work on Mr. McSerious, as he saw everything. And he too has a shoulder pet. Wonderful. Wait a second, I just realized something. Main characters with an animal thing on their shoulders as their companions? No wonder I hated you. You reminded me of that filth. Sano's still getting jumped, and at every moment it seems like he has a plan, but it just ends up going nowhere. Reminds me of guys that hype themselves up, saying things like, "When I see red, it's over. If I let loose during a fight, you better run." Then once they actually get into a fight, their body's like a water case after a couple days, like all crumpled up and ish. The country's cloaks are getting things done, but they know that they're only taking care of the distraction, and have to do something about the rebels headed towards the center of the country. As it turns out, Opal finally found the tourist man, who turns out to be Huey Freeman. I'm spiteful, we're skipping. Sorry, Opal, shouldn't have interrupted a cool moment so you could have your moment. Naona and Lily are helping out at the orphanage, only to learn that two kids aren't there, having ended up at Oldgarth, the same place the dope incident took place. As they're laying waste, the flamboyant guys wonder how their fellow generals are doing, as we see how one of them is doing, Zebediah Ford. He seems to be religious. Hold on, wait, is he encountering the kids? Hold on. Religious, possibly even cultist, innocent kids. What's he holding behind his back? Oh no! The fight between Sano and German Slade turns into a game of cat and mouse, so they eventually just decide to negotiate, with Sano just wanting to meet Gideon. However, since Gideon isn't there, the negotiations break off as soon as they start, and they continue to fight. Sano continues to dodge and avoid them, but eventually gets caught by Alemania on a trap where he can't move. However, Sano laughs as this was all a plan to get John to poison his smell. I was initially confused as to why John would want to help Sano, but it makes sense. John wants the world all to himself, meaning neither Sano's folks nor the rebels can exist. With this massive distraction, Sano is able to use his main character powers to neg all the fodder. Heck, Himmler even gets a backstory buff since his mask was dear to him, but even that can't defeat protagonist powers. We then cut to these two loving each other, giving off some major Beauty and the Beast vibes until they get jumped by Huey Freeman. We also find out that I was wrong, and Huey isn't actually a rebel, but someone from the country of Utah, who desperately wants to eliminate the rebels. Well, my bad guys, but in my defense, I am a lookism reader. Literacy is not our strong suit. After that little display, Huey is on super fraud watch as he gets blitzed by two people who are too busy glazing each other. It even seems like he's gonna have his cool moment as he traps and electrocutes them, but is immediately pummeled by potentially gay Eggman. Oh, and who is it to seal his moment? Who is it? No, I believe he was supposed to have his moment here, but she absorbed all of his hype and used it on herself. She begins to reprimand him, saying how he shouldn't have gotten away from her tour and how he's her responsibility. Hey man, she could be right. But because of my agenda, she's wrong! She says she can help him do his thing so she can do something of her own. I swear, if he's about to get one win and she snatches it... Actually, no, not if. It will happen! Well, guess what, Opal? You are not just on here. You've also joined... him. We come back to McSerious Eyes confronting Bangalore, and not only is he dissing her, but he tells her he actually wants to defeat her, as that could get him a good job in Eden. However, she strikes a nerve, as she knows he's the son of someone already with a high position, so there's likely to be bad blood within the family. And as serious as Homeboy can get, she's supposed to be a seasoned warrior. Seriousness alone ain't winning this. A surprising turn of events unfolds, as the fraud is actually doing well against Billy, with his ability slowing down Billy's body. But then, Billy busts out the Beyblade, and it's all over. What did I say earlier? What was it I said earlier? We then cut to a meeting between the regular lords as they worry about what they should do while waiting for Angelo's orders, as he's the best at strategy amongst them. They're bickering about what their plan should be, but fortunately Angelo calls in to actually form a plan. He tells them that the rebels' main goal at the moment is to capture Sano, so they must protect Sano at all costs. Meanwhile, Sano ran into trouble as he's now fighting the Flamboyants. Prince Flamboyant tells the other to leave for a 2v1, and he very quickly is bodying Sano, which means John tags in. Oh wow, Prince, it's all over now. John sandbags, deciding now is not the time to unveil his true power, which gives Sano a rage boost. They then get into an argument about how Sano is siding with an evil nation, while Sano only wants to forgive everyone to bring peace. They then briefly fight some more, but unfortunately for Sano, neither his protagonism nor rage boost is enough to beat him. Not only that, but the rebels are beginning to take control of the country systems, and he uses the Black Sphere, keeping Sano prisoner. Angelo is sealing off a building as he gets confronted by Billy, clearly having beaten the fraud. This time though, I believe Angelo will get the job done. After all. Over at the Health Fellowship, which is basically the hospital, they're stressing over defending that place specifically, and they hear the rebels are gonna attack from the sky. Most go over to their positions, with the glasses lady... Did I ever mention her? Being the only one to stay behind, she finds Op has snuck in, saying he wants to protect Flo. She tells him not to blame himself for everything, otherwise he could be the one in the coma next time. Then she tells him not to leave under any circumstances, and... what do you think homie's gonna do? Naona and Lily are going over to find the kids, and Naona starts to push Lily away. Is she talking to me? Naona, trust. There's a perfectly good reason why I keep calling you Naona and not Neon. They end up finding the kids talking with Father Kool-Aid, and he goes for the kill after discovering that they have a different religion. Naona jumps in and tells Lily to take the kids away, saying she'll hold him off. Oh no, we all know you ain't holding back nothing. She manages to do alright, having a pretty good technique where she reduces the weight of her body, then goes back to the full weight right before the blow. However, Father Kool-Aid is far too powerful and has an ability far too crafty to lose to her alone. Fortunately, Lily comes in to provide some help, seeming to have some sort of tree or nature-based impulse ability. Naona asks what's the plan, since she on her own clearly stood no chance, and Lily says she really doesn't have an idea, just to be optimistic. With little to no option, Naona decides to break the walls of ivory without having mastered it. which in this world is the equivalent of opening the 8th gate, which gives you strong power but with a chance of killing you. Sano's still imprisoned by Flamboyant Prince, who's mocking his ideology of wanting to bring forgiveness into the world. And as much as I want to disagree, he's actually kind of right. It's human nature for there to be violence, aggression, hatred everywhere. And we can't force anyone to feel a certain way either, otherwise that would make you tyrannical and hypocritical. However, at the same time, forgiveness and kindness can help with someone's hatred, for hate only breeds more hate. After all, whatever is begun in anger ends in shame. Hey, wait, do my eyes deceive me? Is that... could it be the Donald? He has come back, and to tell Flamboyant Prince that this country has the strongest sorcerers in the whole planet. No country has better sorcerers. And he too is gonna fight! It was nice knowing you, Flamboyant Prince, but once the Donald enters the fight, everyone knows their time's up. We catch up to the fight between Mixerius and Bangalore, with Bangalore clearly having much more than an edge. Her ability is to be able to absorb all the impulse in the area, even the natural one in the air. She's been absorbing his impulse, and not only that, but her clothes is the orb that is absorbing it all. So without something, Mixerius is joining Mikhail. The Donald begins his onslaught on Prince, having seemingly similar powers to Mikhail. Prince gets a couple of good shots in, and since the Donald used quite a bit of his impulse on the clone earlier and isn't in his prime, he decides to go serious. He throws a punch at Prince, then literally throws one, and it's all over. No, please, the Donald, I believe you can do it. A flashback. Please, no, not like this. He's been beamed, but maybe he can still live. If you were in your prime, this would be no problem. No, please live. No! Yes! Thank you, Glasses Lady! I'm sorry, I thought you weren't important! No, not Glasses Lady. Kike Gonzalez, I acknowledge you. She leaves, taking him to safety and get treated, but Sano still remains captive. And Prince, as much as I hate him, is so good at rubbing salt on the wound. A bunch of the cloaks go on the rebel ship to fight, but unfortunately they fell right into a trap, which leaves the Health Fellowship vulnerable. Their last line of defense is Op, who went on the ship undetected thanks to the invisibility cloak. And despite being outnumbered and outmatched, he's all they got, so he has to do something. Liking his already rebellious nature, the Chicano invites him to the rebels, of course after beating him up a little, but Op, living up to his name, disrespectfully declines. Op tries to do the same thing he did in the Matrix world, but he doesn't know that Simon weakened the Mary Jane in there, so it's a wrap for him. That is until Simon, the devious bastard he is, interferes, singing a poem about death. And he wants to be sad about Op losing, but instead he's excited about finally being able to let loose. We then get a flashback of how Simon met Op, and usually flashbacks indicate that someone is either dying or getting bodied. He overhears Op talking to his teacher about why he calls himself Ryuzaki the Dragon. Is that an anthropomorphic animal? Oh, and of course it's one to abuse a child. I knew Antheros were not to be trusted. It also goes over when all of the main kids in the class meet, including... When we cut back to the present, it seems like Simon already got Gojo'd, but it turns out he put some sort of genjutsu on not just the Scythe guy, but every rebel in range. Hey, you see this? This is how you make a cool showcase. Oh, but what happened to you? As it turns out, it's not only an illusion sort of thing, but he messed with multiple senses, so they're technically under his control. And not only does he neg the Jawman, but he grabs all his allies off the ship and blows up the ship! Now that was cold, Simon, but that's not your line, that's his line. Mixerius is still desperately trying to fight Bangalore, and no matter what he throws, she just easily counters it, so it seems pointless. But it turns out he was just trying to distract her so the unraveling of the Sia would happen much faster, which allows Yuha to have his get back. Before we can see that though, Billy is... I guess so cocky to the point where he's explaining every part of his plan down to a T. And if you know how these kinds of stories go, then you know what that means for the plan. Angelo tells Billy the rest of his plan, and by the end, Angelo is basically calling his plan trash since they needed every general to do their part, but if one falls, it's over. Then Billy yells at him, saying that they look at the rebels and all they see is bad guys. I mean, can you blame them, dog? Helena ends up fighting this jester-looking bozo, but she doesn't seem to be in the most calm state, thinking about Lars, who I forgot to mention is her man. She uses these strings to entangle and pummel him, but it turns out it was a fake she was fighting. And to make matters worse, he's puppeteering her allies, so now that makes this fight much more complicated. Before we can see that fight some more, the buff black man, who's named Booker, fights the Dreads guy, whose only ability is shooting a massive beam. And this might have worked wonders against Mikhail and Opal, but Booker is literally his hard counter, since he endures pain and uses it for himself. Helena takes out one of the guys, only for Jester to take the opportunity to control her too. This turns out to be a negative IQ play though, since he's essentially entered in a tug-of-war battle with her, which she easily wins. And apparently, not only was Lars watching the entire time, but the rest of the Dark Lords are arriving at the battle, turning the tide of the war. Their final lord, Quinn, is fighting the twins, and their strategy is for the brother to be the muscle, while the sister works on linking the two impulses to turn off the opponent's impulse. Quinn's ability, on the other hand, is ink sorcery, and the tattoos on his body are essentially his weapons. It seems like he's been outplayed by the twins, however, he does what the old Kaio from Baki did, and dies, just to make it so his impulse comes back. The twins then call him a monster and talk about their backstory as his country committed atrocities on their people. However, what good will any of this do against a man who does not care? It's like she poured her heart and soul to a brick wall that boxes you. Angelo is making Billy look like a punk by just walking away from him, and when Billy tells him to join the fraud in the afterlife, Mikhail miraculously comes back. He says it's because he used hallucinogenic powers on Billy, but we all know Angelo revived him to give him one more chance. You get one more chance, Mikhail, but this time you're not on fraud watch. It's phony watch for you now. Sano's still in the boba, and while he tries desperately to get out, he just can't, and as punishment, Prince scorches him. We finally get back to Yuha versus Bangalore, and while she gives it her all, using her strongest attack and backstory power-up, she still ends up broken on the floor. Prince tells other Flamboyant to go ahead and initiate Operation Icarus, which is essentially carpet bombing all of Black Bottom Island to build his country upon. Sano passes out from exhaustion after yet again trying to break out, and this time his dream isn't really a vision or anything, but his mind being sent to another plane of existence. First, he has the usual thing with his dad, although feeling a bit more real this time. Then in some sort of flashback with his folks, they tell him that his compassion came from his mom. Then he meets a deity called Aerodis, and judging from a couple things, I think Sano's gonna go through some sort of awakening. After a while, we reunite with the two girls fighting Father Kool-Aid, where every second counts in this fight as they have to get the job done as soon as possible. Unfortunately, Father Kool-Aid is no amateur, so he's strong enough to keep up with her in his base form. Nyona, even after this transformation, still isn't doing much to him, but you can't really blame her for that. It's like if Chunin exams Naruto had to square up with Final Madara. Again, Father Kool-Aid has more than enough impulse and battle experience to deal with the two of them at the same time. However, Nyona successfully tricks him into a clean shot and seemingly one-taps him, so sacrificing herself worked! Except, no, he just won't stay down, and now he's going super too! Thankfully, Mary Jane saved everyone, and Nyona goes to sleep before she can see who saved her. Billy and Mikhail end up fighting, with Billy using his Wall of Ivory break form. Billy thinks Mikhail is all out of ammo for his abilities, but it turns out he can get another one anytime, so he's instantly ready to scrap. However, even with dodging and using his smoke abilities, Billy can still tag him, and it's not looking good for you, Mikhail. Billy pulls out the low-tier energy just to rub salt on the wound, but Mikhail actually has a lighter, which can combust his smoke, I assume, and well, what do you think happens? All the kids who've already fought are resting up, plus the kids who did nothing. However, Simon delivers the bad news that Op has died. which we all know is a lie. If anything, he'll make Deathnop and live forever so that he doesn't have to deal with him. We return to Huey and... They arrive to use the black spheres to take him on the ship, but unfortunately, Prince is already there with Minion. Huey acknowledges that they stand no chance to defeat the both of them, however, Opal wishes to throw away her life just to steal some more coolness. Of course, no amount of cool is going to give her enough strength to beat Prince alone, let alone the two of them, and she's losing badly. However, Huey finally regains a bit of his hype as he returns to back up Opal as they get in an argument about who's truly mistaken in the Yuta debate. Opal tries yet again to steal the moment, and she gets the black spheres up and running, but she forgets she's an easy target. Huey takes the hit for her, probably hoping she'll run, and instead she stands her ground, and look at that, Orion has gotten hurt too. She uses her teleporting ability, but unfortunately, it's not as good as Sano's. And Huey tries one more time to save her, but they have nothing left, and all seems to be lost. That is until Angelo comes in and forces Minion to back off. You stay down. This is his time to shine. He hasn't done much. You do anything other than be an off-screen victim, I'll force you to work at the Minion Cafe. He tries to get Sano back, but unfortunately, not only does Prince waste no time to kidnap him, but Minion actually proves to be a bit of a trouble. Matter of fact, could it be? Is Angelo on fraud watch? Nah, what am I saying? It's cause he used so much impulse on reviving Mikhail, which means Mikhail is such a fraud that he makes such allegations contagious. Everyone watch out, for he is patient zero of influenza. Just as it seems Angelo isn't gonna beat the allegations, he inhales a smoke that transports his mind into a nirvana where he can freely talk to Naomi. We also see a flashback of before the attack, and it's revealed that they knew all along of the attack. They just wanted to deceive them for a nasty counterattack. Anyways, Angelo is in nirvana to ask Naomi for help and probably some power, and I don't want to know what he had to do. Whatever it was, it worked, and Angelo has gotten massively buffed, sometimes just deflecting Minion's attacks. One attack after another, everything Minion throws at him is embarrassingly deflected by Angelo, and let's just skip to the end. Packed up. Before Minion dies, he dumps a bit of backstory. Then he dies. We return to Sano and Prince, with Prince taunting Sano about being unable to stop the carpet bombing. Sano's still in the other realm, however, and he's talking with Eridis, who's supposed to be another part of the Trinity. She's also someone who can provide Sano with answers to questions, but due to plot, some of them can't be answered. However, she can kind of answer one question regarding Sano's dad's research, in that what he found made him want to change the world, and it cost him his life. After realizing Opal has caused a crack in the black sphere, he decides he needs to leave at once, and even starts to let go of his I have no enemies mentality. He begins to question himself, thinking if he should let go of his principles, and Eridis tells him that she doesn't know every answer, but regardless, he's not alone. Then she bear hugs him. In order to be released, he must answer her riddles 1, in that if he is free or not, and he says they both are. With this, he gains maximum power, astonishing everyone around him, from the lords, his classmates, and why wouldn't the fraud be shocked? Wait, he won his fight. See, Billy had to walk from one fellowship to another, which probably made him really tired. So it's not really a W, Mikhail, still on phony watch. They begin to fight, and it's clear from the start that this fight is massively one-sided. Prince even fires that beam attack, a super version of it, mind you, and Sano just blew it away. Then this guy comes back with some indomitable human spirit saying, "Never fear, bro. Jekyll is here." Wait, whose heart is that? Oh no, bro, it's mine. After he's done with him, he goes on a massacre on every single rebel that invaded, and it's not pretty. You see this guy who got his arm chopped off? He got it easy when you look at what he did to this guy. He was probably just a war musician, and he got done the most dirty. With this display, he scares everyone, and I mean everyone, as Huey and Opal are trying to stop him. Wait, is he gonna do it? Is he gonna game end Opal? And the plot saves her, as it was basically Eridus doing everything, and Sano stops her from massacring more people. And the way the conversation goes is so messed up, because what basically happens is, hey, your moms will be proud of you for saving her. Wanna know why? Got your ad. Now you gotta scrap with this angry dude alone. After seeing what just happened and thinking it was all Sano, Prince is understandably filled with nothing but pure rage as he breaks the wall of ivory too. Before I go onwards, let me tell you guys spoiler warnings for the next and final 2 chapters of Volume 4, so I'll just leave a timestamp here. Everyone good? Some of you just skipped what I just said? Alright, let's continue. Despite Sano seeming to have gotten some sort of power-up, he's still no match for Prince, especially in this form. After stealing a cold line and catching what would have been one heck of a kick, it seems like Prince is gonna stomp Sano. However, Sano comes out of all of that unscathed, and not only that, but he's full of impulse, while Prince is almost out. Out of options, Prince pulls out his trump card, which is a giant hand. However, since Sano has all this impulse, he just blasts him, and it's all over. After the fight, Prince acknowledges Sano, telling him not to fail as a legacy as he has. They also have a bit of a heart-to-heart, as Sano and Prince acknowledge that Prince followed a path that he didn't truly believe in, but one he felt was the most logical. And with that, Prince is done for. Hold on. He appeared to be winning. The guy he was winning against is now standing over him. The way he's lying down. We then witness the aftermath of the invasion, with someone, I'm assuming Sano, is talking about how everyone is capable of good and bad, while he's just a casualty of the conflict? Oh, Sano, I know you're sad about going berserk for a bit, but you're not a casualty. No, he tells them to take care of his ex-wife, and he realizes Sano might have the right idea about forgiveness before he... He can't be dead! Is this some joke? He had so much more in him, and just like that he's gone? No! A conversation between Mikhail and the Donald's ex-wife reveals that he was always gonna die, and he was terminally ill, something to do with the smoke sorcery being a double-edged sword. Jeez, Mikhail, day by day, it just doesn't get better for you. Phony watch and lung cancer? My dog needs some R&R. After a quick funeral service for all that fell during the battle, Sano, Angelo, and John are talking about the impression Sano made, and now he wants to be a symbol of peace, just like his dad. Here comes super spoilers, timestamp in case you want to skip it and read it for yourself, cause this is big. Angelo has a flashback to the day that haunts Sano's dreams, but instead of Sano's dad being dead, he took care of the 2 guys that attacked him. Not only that, but he wants Sano to think that he died on this day, and he has huge plans behind the scenes, and none of which is for Sano to find out, at least not now. Angelo snaps out of it, as he tells Sano the reason why they're on the boat, which is to get Sano a wand for the games. Ooh, look at that smirk. What devious plot is he scheming up this time? Someone is in a coma next page? I'm on to you. We then have a couple of things setting things up for the next arc, where Op is absolutely furious with himself, calling himself weak. And lastly, a game of chess is seen between Gideon, the leader of the rebels, and a mysterious man. However, it's revealed that this man is the father of Lily. This one. I mean, she's the only one there who looks like a lily. And with that wraps up the 4th volume of Apple Black, with more to come soon, I think. Now I have to give my honest thoughts on this, regardless of if this is a sponsored video or not. And honestly, during the first volume, I kinda didn't like it, since I thought Sano would be a complete Gary Stew. And I can't exactly blame myself for thinking so, since Sano is quite literally the chosen one. He has an almost supernatural ability of reading people, and he can freaking teleport with seemingly no drawback other than himself. Oh, and then there's Opal's last name, going right up there with Ulfie. All that being said, I did actually enjoy reading this. The Gary Stu nature of Sano was cancelled out with his naivety of the world and the corruption that comes along with it. Not to mention, while it seemed as if his reading people ability was absolute, Simon comes in and proves that there are going to be people that this will not work on. Speaking of Simon, most definitely a top 5 character in this webtoon. He's a very interesting character. I guess the best way I can describe him is, imagine one of those smart evil guys from an anime was your ally. Not to mention his absolutely cold fight where he destroys the entire group and ship on his own without having to land an actual attack. The art can also be really good, not to say that there is really a panel with bad art, not one that I've noticed at least. The detailed art of buildings, cool attacks, and whatnot are all very impressive. They also seem to be fleshing out each character in some way, shape, or form, essentially world building while telling a story. Which is great! I like it when the side characters in a story actually have depth and, well, character. It lets us all know that this isn't just the Sano show, which is something some other well-known media has some problems with. I can't hate it. I'm Mexican. We're genetically designed to love Dragon Ball. Anyways, let's move on to the fights, which are actually pretty cool, with some nice art to go along with it. The use of Impulse, which is essentially magic, along with the wands, which can basically be anything, allows for some creative fights. Of course, some are more simplistic than others, like Op's red batons, but then there's some like Naona's ability to manipulate weight, Simon's perception thing, and Mikhail and the Donald smoking thing. Also, I like how this is the only piece of media I know where the people with smoking powers actually get lung cancer. I still don't understand every single thing in the story, but that's to be expected. The story clearly has way more to tell. So, is it perfect? Yeah, there are some pacing issues here, as I think the whole invasion happened a bit too soon. We've barely gotten to know these characters, and they immediately got to deal with the Black Air Force Hindenburg pulling up. And then there's the bad guys. This can either be a pro or a con. If the story is trying to tell us that despite their understandable motives, what they're doing is wrong, then a pro. If the story is trying to make me sympathize with the bad guys, let me use a popular series I recently watched in comparison to this, Vinland Saga. Spoilers in case you haven't seen it. The two characters I'm going to be using right now for this example is Gardar and Bjorn. Gardar was never shown to be a bad guy. Sure, he made some mistakes that cost him dearly, but he was never really a bad guy. Bjorn, on the other hand, the show does not fail to remind you that he is not a good guy. He's terrible. Pillaging, killing, all sorts of things, he's probably done it. However, when both characters died, I was much more bummed out about Bjorn's death than Gardar's. Now, why would I be that much more sad about the pillager, killer, kidnapper in comparison to the innocent guy who got sold off into slavery? Simple. We spent much more time with Bjorn. Bjorn was in the majority of season 1, while Gardar I think was in for like 3 episodes of season 2? Point is, we get to spend that much more time getting to know Bjorn than we do Gardar. Yes, he did all those terrible things, but in the end he wanted to be Askeladd's friend. And don't get it twisted, it's not like I wasn't sad about Gardar's death, I was. But I just cared about Bjorn more than I did Gardar. And that's my point. I don't care about any of these bad guys' backstories. Especially if they're gonna die in like 2 pages from now. Your country got destroyed? Tough, but I don't know you. It's kind of like when Baki characters are introduced just to get destroyed, but instead of feats of strength, it's just trauma. Also, this is just my personal opinion, but you guys killed this guy off way too soon. Neat powers, actually good dialogue, I'm just saying, he was wasted. There's also Sano being able to do this, and I know he's supposed to be the chosen one, but giving him a form like that this early into the story, it'd be like if Naruto befriended Kurama during the Chunin exams. However, I am a simple man, and I like a good fight, so you know what? You're on the good webtoons list. So yeah, Saturday AM, keep working hard. I know you guys will only get better as you create more. If you guys did this good and the story's basically barely started, you got something real good on your hands. Anyways, with all that being said, I'd say that's gonna wrap up this video. Thank you guys for watching this video in its entirety. Seriously, thanks if you did. This has been the longest video I've made ever. If you guys liked this video, then please like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. If you guys haven't already, then consider joining the channel membership to ensure these videos come out faster. Also, there's the Discord server, blah blah blah, in the description. If you guys have any video suggestions or any other webtoons you'd like me to read, then please leave it in the comments section below. And with that, I'll see you guys on the next video. Peace.